Okay everyone, welcome to another Media Sheriff tutorial. Today we're going to look at turning your videos into more of a vintage look, giving it maybe that 80s vibe, and creating a flicker as well, just to give it that more vintage style and look in case you want to put that into your videos. Okay, I'm going to be working with the opening bit of Downtown here, so just the opening bit where myself, Simon and Chris start dancing, and we're going to turn it into a little bit of an 80s style, like I said. So there's two parts to this. The first one is we're going to mess with the colour and the look of the visuals on the screen. So first of all, what we need to look for is the effect known as colour emboss. So I'm just going to go into the effects tab and put colour emboss in. I'm going to drag that over and put it onto the video. And then in your effects controls, what we're going to do is we're going to mess with the contrast, which is this one here, and we're going to change that to 250. And if we have a look on the screen there, what it does, I'll just close it so it's a little bit more clear for you. And I'll just mess. So this was before, and then this was after. Gives it a hardened look almost, and a little bit more kind of out of focus, not your standard HD or higher quality. We're then going to go back into the effects controls, and we are going to this time look for color balance RGB, which is here in image control. And again, we're going to drag that over and put it onto the video. Right, from here, we are then going to be working in effects controls for a bit. So from here, we need to change the opacity, which is here, and we're going to change the blend mode from normal to linear dodge add. Okay, and if we have a look a bit further down, then we've got color balance reds, greens, and blues. Okay, so on this video, what we're going to do is we're going to change the green value to 0, and then we're going to change the blue value to 0. So just click on them and select, and then it will turn red because that's the only colour that we've got in it at the moment. From here, we want to duplicate the layer. So in order to do that, a fast way of doing it is hold onto your Alt button, left click on the video that you want to duplicate, and then just drag it up, and it will create a second duplicate layer on your timeline. We'll do that again. So you've got 3. So we should have 3 lots now of that red layer. And then from here, we're going to start working on the middle layer. Okay, so we go down to where the color imbalance is, and we're going to change the values a little bit. Now you'll notice that the red value has changed to 39. That is fine. I will be telling you to change it to something else, but it defaults back to 39. That is all right, so don't worry about that. On the middle layer then, what we're going to do is we're going to change the red to 0 and put the green up to 100. Okay, so it's also, we've straight away changed the colour of it. Then on the bottom layer, so select the bottom layer, find the RGB colour balance again, move the red to 0 on that one, and we're going to put the blue up to 100. Okay, so we've already got, if I close that effect again, and I'll just full screen this for a second so that you can see, we have got a little bit more of that kind of old style of TV look almost. You know, the colour has come out of it a little bit. What we've now got to do is we're working back on the top layer, and we are going to change the scale on here to 101. So this is the red layer, yeah, at the top. So we're going to change that to 101, the scale. And then we are going to mess around with the position a little bit on this side, so the default one. So I'm going to put it to 954, just on that left hand side. So again, it creates a little bit of a blur, and it moves the red layer to the one side. What I'm then going to do is work on the bottom layer. I'm going to put the scale of that to 102, and then the position I'm going to put to 966. Okay. Just check the position on the middle layer. The middle layer, in case anything changes with that one, that scale should still be 100, and the position should be 960, or whatever it is that your default position is. Okay, so we've got the top layer at 954 and 101 for the scale. We've got the middle layer at 960 with 100% scale, and then we've got the green layer, or the blue layer down at the bottom, as 966 and 102. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to add an adjustment layer. So in your project area, you need to right click on it, new item, and then add an adjustment layer there. Okay, so that will go into your project. Defaults to your video settings, so just click OK, and then what we're going to do is we're going to click, hold it, and drag it onto the top of all of your layers, and make sure obviously that it covers the entire duration of the layer. Okay, we're going back into effects again, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of noise to it. Okay, so that is just in effects. If you just search for noise, it's down here in noise and game. We just click the one that says noise and nothing else, and then drag that onto your timeline as well. From there, find the noise on your adjustment layer, and we're going to change it up a little bit, noise effect, and I'm going to put it to 20, and that adds a little bit of noise in there as well, so it makes it a little bit more kind of grainy and things like that. Okay, and the last effect we're going to add is a wave warp. Okay, so again, in your effects, add wave warp to the search bar, and then click and drag that over to your adjustment layer as well. And there's a few settings that we're going to change on this. Okay, so we're going to change the wave type here to square, and as you can see, it's created a little bit of distortion on the video there, and there's the square coming up on the screen there. We're going to change the width here to 1000. Okay, so it's clearing up a little bit, but you've still got that slight distortion. We're going to change the direction to 0. And what that does is it just changes the direction of the wave. So if it's going 90%, it's going, or 90 degrees, it's going across. If we change it to 0, it's going to go down. And we're going to change the speed to minus 0.1. There. Okay. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to pin the edges. So on here, we're just going to do pinning all edges, and it will add that then to the effect. Now I'm going to try and play it, but as we know with Premiere, sometimes it can be a little bit funny when it comes to playing stuff without rendering, but we'll see how it goes. Oh, there we go, it's paused already. But you already get the kind of look of that old style VHS CRT TV idea. We're going to do a little bit with colour as well. So in your colour tab, you search for RGB curves and open that one up. So I'm going to open RGB curves, and then what we are going to do is we're going to add a few points here. This is still all on your adjustment layer, so make sure you don't come off that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a point here, roughly where the shadows are, then a point here for the midtones, and then a point up here for the highlights. Okay, and what I'm going to do is we're just going to create a little bit of a bend. So we are going to move this bottom side for your shadows. We're going to move that up a little bit from the furthest point, create that shadow, and then we're going to do the same on the highlights point here. Click on it and drag it down a little bit. Okay, so we've created an S, and I'll just expand the screen again, and there you can see you've got that kind of blurry effect. There's the wave going down, you can see that there, and it just creates that kind of blurry effect. I'm going to turn it down a bit because that is a little bit. Okay, so we've got that kind of old vintagey TV effect on there. Obviously save what you've done, and this will take quite a while to export or render, just to warn you. So because there's a lot of effects and things on it, so what I've done, so I'll just exit out of that. I have already rendered it, and I'm going to open the project. So I'm going to save that one, as you should of course, and then I'm going to close that project, and then I'm going to open, and I've called it TV Flicker. Okay, so I'll just wait. So here is my rendered version of the 80s style bit that we just did. I'll just play a little bit for you now that it'll play properly. And there you can see the colour is off. You've got that wave going down, and it just looks a little bit old and vintage. Vintage, sorry, is what we call it, isn't it? Right, next we're going to add a little bit of an extra flicker and things if you want that kind of style as well. I'm going to just put a couple of cuts into this just to make it a little bit easier for you to follow. And what we've got to do from here, just expand that a bit, is we are going to start. So in your project file, we're going to do another new item, and it's going to be transparent video. So add a transparent video layer. Again, just accept the settings, and then we're going to drag it onto the timeline above everything else and expand that right across all of it. Okay. In your effects panel then, what we're going to do is we're going to put on a little bit of a grid. What old tellies used to look like is they used to have lines going across. So that's the kind of effect that we're going to try and do here. So we search for grid, it's here in generate. Again, click and drag it onto your transparent video layer. Okay, and what that does is it adds this grid to it. There's a few settings that we're going to mess around with. Okay, first thing that we need to do is find the grid on the effects controls panel, and we are going to change the size from corner point to width and height sliders, and then it creates an even bigger grid from that. So what we're going to do is we're going to mess around with these a little bit. Your horizontal anchor needs to change to 0, and then from there we're going to change the width to 4,500. We're going to change the height to 10 and the border to 5.5. Okay, so at the minute, as you can see, we've got a lot of stuff there. We're going to change some other stuff. We need to change the colour to black. So go into the colour, select black, and then OK it. Okay, so now even more so, we've got this kind of old style kind of TV. This is what they used to look like in the old days. You know, this is what we had to put up with, or I had to put up with when I was young. That kind of picture. We didn't have all this clear stuff. So, okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to lower the opacity as well of that to 50. Okay, so it's not quite as prominent as it was in that last bit. So we've changed it to 50, and as you can see, it's a little bit, you know, you've got the wave still in there, and it's all looking a bit old, like it's the 80s. Okay, next thing we're going to do is I'm going to just close. I'm going to go back to the editing panel. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an adjustment layer. So a new item, adjustment layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag these onto just where I've made the cuts. I'm going to make them a little bit shorter, so it's just kind of covering over the transition. Again, I'm going to copy them. So Alt and drag over to the next cut. There. That's not copied it. That's copied it. Okay, and we're going to copy it over the transition twice. So you should have one there and then one there. Okay. We're working with the bottom adjustment layer to start off with, so that's this one. And what we're going to do is I'm going to look in the effects control again, and this time I'm going to look for offset, which is here in distort. So I'm going to add an offset onto the bottom of the first adjustment layer. Okay, so then I'm going to find it in the effects controls, and I'm going to click on the stopwatch for Shift Center 2. I'm going to go back into the editing tab, because what we need to do is we need to make sure that it's at the beginning of that adjustment layer. So get your marker to the beginning of the adjustment layer, which is up there. And as I said, I'm going to click on the Shift Center 2, and that adds the first keyframe just off. Do it so we can see it. Okay, so add the keyframe there. Okay, then we need to drag the marker to sort of like the middle of your adjustment layer here. And I'm going to move the Y, which is this one here. I'm going to move it up a little bit. Okay, so we can already see we've got half of Simon, and the screen's going a little bit distorted. At the end of the adjustment layer, what I'm then going to do, just get it to the end, about there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press this reset button here, which is then going to add another keyframe again, so it adds all three. So we get this nice little kind of just distort up and down. You can move the keyframes around, you know, to make it quicker or whatever, but I'm just going to leave it like that at the minute. We're then going to work on the top adjustment layer, and we're going to search for, in the effects again, we're going to do some more wave warp. So just search for that again. I'm going to drag that over onto the top adjustment layer. We're going to change the wave type to noise, just down here. Again, change the pinning to all edges. We're going to change this width to 500. Again, the direction to 0. The wave height can depend on what you want. It's up to you. Mess around with it, experiment with it. I'm going to change it to 35. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy that to the layer as well. So the good thing about Premiere is that you can just highlight the effect that you want, press copy, and then go into your next adjustment layer and paste it in, and it keeps all the settings and things there. Okay, now we need to do that as well with the offset for the first adjustment layer as well, so I'm just going to copy that over as well. And again, as I said, it keeps all of your settings where you wanted it. If I just come back into the editing tab, you can see that the is the it's kept the keyframes where they should be on each of the adjustment layers. Okay, back to the top adjustment layer then, and what we're going to do is add the noise effect again. So again, go back into noise and put that into the top effect, and adjust the amount of noise again that you want. Again, experiment with what you want. I'm just going to put it to 33, and then I'm going to copy that one as well and put it into the top adjustment layer here as well. There you go, there's the noise, and there you go. And what that should do is you've got that this kind of effect, and hopefully it'll play. We'll play it from here. See, it's too much for Premiere to handle. We'll see if the next one works. Let's take it back a little bit. It doesn't like too much, as I said, without rendering it first. So make sure you do that. But we'll just play it as a. Okay, so it creates that kind of old TV flicker and the old TV style effect and things. Try it on one of your videos, just see what you can do. Put it on your FMP page or post them up as experimentation. I'd like to see what you can do. This has been the Media Sheriff. I'll see you next time.